I'm Valerie, 29, from San Diego. I work in digital marketing, and I like to treat myself from time to time. A few months ago, I splurged on a designer handbag I'd been saving for, limited edition, cream leather, custom hardware. It cost more than my rent, but I loved it. My boyfriend Kyle was always weird about status items. He'd roll his eyes whenever I bought something expensive, even though we kept our finances separate. One weekend, I went on a short business trip. When I came back, I noticed my bag wasn't on its shelf. I asked Kyle. He shrugged. "Oh, my sister loved it. I let her borrow it for a few days." I froze. "Borrow? That wasn't yours to lend." He rolled his eyes again. "Relax, Val. It's just a bag. You have others." "Just a bag?" I called his sister. She told me, cheerfully, that Kyle had given it to her, said it wasn't really my style anymore, and that I'd never miss it. I was furious. But instead of screaming, I got smart. Kyle had a massive PlayStation collection, rare games, special edition controllers, signed merch. He'd built it over years and was ridiculously proud of it. So while he was at work the next day, I listed the whole thing on Facebook Marketplace. Everything. By evening, it was gone. A guy drove 2 hours and paid in cash. When Kyle got home and saw the empty shelf, he panicked. "Where's my stuff?" I smiled. "Oh, a collector loved it. I let him borrow it for a few days." He was speechless. Then I handed him a receipt. "Don't worry, I'll use the cash to replace my bag. And maybe get a few others, just in case your sister visits again." He tried to argue. I didn't listen. The next morning, I moved out, with my new bag on my shoulder. I've always believed in working hard for what I want. Living in San Diego isn't cheap, especially on a digital marketing specialist's salary. But I've always managed my money carefully, saving for the things that matter to me. The Louis Vuitton Capucines in cream with customized gold hardware wasn't just any bag. It represented 2 years of overtime projects, skipped vacations, and countless nights of freelance work. When I finally walked into the boutique on that sunny Saturday, the associate knew me by name. "Valerie. The day has finally come," she said, bringing out the bag with white-gloved hands. I still remember how my heart raced as I handed over my credit card. $5,300. More than my monthly rent for my part of our 2-bedroom in Pacific Beach. But when I looked at it sitting on my vanity shelf, perfect, pristine, mine, I felt nothing but pride. Kyle and I had been together for 3 years by then. He was handsome, charming, and worked as a software developer at a tech startup downtown. We met at a friend's beach bonfire, and things moved quickly. By month 6, we'd moved in together. Our finances stayed separate by mutual agreement, though we split the rent and utilities evenly. The first sign of trouble came about a year into our relationship. I'd splurged on a pair of designer sunglasses after landing a big client. "Seriously? $300 for sunglasses?" Kyle said, his voice dripping with disdain. "You know they all come from the same factory in China, right?" I laughed it off. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, I thought. But the comments continued. "When I bought an expensive bottle of perfume, you're paying for the brand, not the scent. When I wore my nicest heels, I hope you didn't waste too much on those." His sister Amanda was different. 5 years younger than Kyle, she lived in Los Angeles and visited occasionally. She always complimented my style, running her fingers over my silk blouses or asking to try my perfumes. "Your girlfriend has the best taste," she'd tell Kyle. He'd just shrug. I'd noticed over time how Kyle would borrow my things for Amanda. A scarf I rarely wore. A cookbook I'd mentioned I was done with. Small things, items I wouldn't miss immediately. I'd find out weeks later when Amanda would text me a photo thanking me for my gift. When I confronted Kyle, he'd brush it off. You weren't using it anyway. Amanda loved it. What's the big deal? I started keeping my nicest items in a separate section of our closet. The Louis Vuitton bag had its own dust bag and shelf, prominently displayed but safely tucked away from borrowing hands. The business trip to Phoenix came up suddenly. A client emergency required 3 days on site, and I packed quickly, bringing only the essentials. The cream bag stayed home. It was too precious for the rough handling of airport security and hotel rooms. When I returned late Sunday night, exhausted and dragging my carry-on, Kyle greeted me with takeout Chinese food and a movie queued up. It felt thoughtful. Normal. It wasn't until Tuesday morning, as I was getting dressed for an important client meeting, that I noticed. The shelf was empty. No dust bag. No Louis Vuitton. My stomach dropped. I tore through the closet, checking under sweaters, behind shoe boxes. Nothing. I called Kyle at work, trying to keep my voice steady. Hey, have you seen my cream designer bag? The expensive one? There was a pause. Too long. Oh, that. His voice was casual. Too casual. Amanda stopped by Saturday. She fell in love with it. I told her she could borrow it for her job interview this week. My hands went cold. You did what? It's no big deal, Val. She'll take good care of it. She knows it's expensive. I hung up without responding. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely dial Amanda's number. Hey Val. Her voice was bright, cheerful. Thanks so much for the gorgeous bag. Kyle said you weren't into it anymore, something about it being too flashy for your new job. Anyway, it's perfect for me, and I promise I'll treat it like gold. The room seemed to spin around me. Amanda, I said slowly, Kyle didn't have permission to give you that bag. It cost over $5,000. I need it back. Silence. Then, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He said, he told me you wanted me to have it. That you'd mentioned it wasn't your style anymore and you'd never miss it. I'm so embarrassed. My mind flashed to all the little gifts over the years. Had Kyle been manipulating both of us all along? It's not your fault, I said finally. But I do need the bag back. Of course. I'm actually driving down to San Diego tomorrow for a lunch thing. I can drop it off. I thanked her and hung up, the fury building inside me like a pressure cooker. I called in sick to work and spent the day pacing our apartment, cataloging every dismissive comment, every eye roll, every borrowed item over our 3 years together. By the time Kyle came home that evening, I'd composed myself into an icy calm. Amanda called me, I said when he walked through the door. She's bringing the bag back tomorrow. Kyle's face darkened. Why'd you do that? She was really excited about it. Because it cost more than $5,000, Kyle. Because I worked for 2 years to afford it. Because it was mine, and you had no right. He dropped his laptop bag on the counter with a thud. Come on, Val. It's just a status symbol. You've got other bags. Just like your PlayStation collection is just plastic and wires. I asked quietly. His head snapped up. That's different. How? My collection has actual value. Some of those games are rare. Limited editions. Signed by developers. Just like my bag was limited edition. Just like it had custom hardware. But in Kyle's world, only his possessions had real value. Mine were frivolous, regardless of how hard I'd worked for them. I went to bed early that night, my mind racing with thoughts of all the times Kyle had subtly undermined me. The jokes about my girly job in marketing. The comments when I spent money on myself. The way he'd explain topics to me that I was already knowledgeable about. Amanda dropped off the bag the next morning while Kyle was at work. There was a small scuff on the bottom corner. "I'm so sorry," she said, pointing to the mark. "I set it down at a restaurant and didn't notice until later." I nodded, examining the leather. "It's okay. Not your fault. Val." She hesitated. "Kyle's always done this. Even when we were kids. Taking my things, giving them away to his friends. Our parents never stopped him." I looked up, surprised. "Really?" She nodded. "It's like, he doesn't see other people's possessions as real. Only his matter." After she left, I sat staring at the bag, turning Amanda's words over in my mind. 3 years with Kyle, and I'd never realized how deep this pattern went. I opened my laptop and began searching through Facebook Marketplace. I found exactly what I was looking for in under an hour: a serious collector in Oceanside, just north of the city. Someone who would appreciate the value of rare finds. I sent a message with photos of Kyle's impressive PlayStation collection. Within minutes, I had a response. The collector was enthusiastic. We negotiated a price that matched what I'd paid for my bag, plus a little extra for the inconvenience. The next morning, after Kyle left for work, I carefully packed everything. The limited edition consoles. The controllers in every color. The games, some still factory sealed. The memorabilia signed by famous developers. I photographed each item methodically, documenting everything. The collector arrived at noon. He was a middle-aged man with kind eyes behind thick glasses, clearly thrilled with his purchase. He handed me a stack of $100 bills, helping me carry boxes to his car. "Your boyfriend's really generous to part with all this," he said. "Some of these items are practically impossible to find now." I just smiled. He believes in sharing beautiful things with people who'll truly appreciate them. After he left, I went to the luxury boutique downtown. I had just enough time before Kyle came home. The same associate who had sold me the cream bag greeted me with a warm smile. "Valerie. So nice to see you again. How's your capucines holding up?" I explained what had happened, showing her the scuff mark. She sked sympathetically. "Men just don't understand, do they? But don't worry, we have a new shipment. Even more beautiful than the last." I left with a replacement bag, identical to my first, plus a smaller matching wallet I'd had my eye on. The remaining cash I deposited into my separate savings account. At home, I placed the new bag on its shelf, positioned so it would be the first thing visible when looking at our bedroom. Then I cleared the display area that had held Kyle's precious collection, wiping away the dust outlines of each console and game case. The empty shelves looked almost surgical in their bareness. I heard his key in the lock at 6:15 p.m., right on schedule. I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my phone, the receipt from the collector folded neatly on the coffee table. Kyle walked in, said a casual hello, and headed toward the kitchen. Then he froze. I heard his footsteps change direction, moving quickly toward the entertainment center. A sharp intake of breath. "Val?" His voice cracked. "Where's my stuff?" I looked up slowly, my face neutral. "Oh, a collector loved it. I let him borrow it for a few days." Kyle's face went from confused to horrified to furious in seconds. "What are you talking about? That collection is worth thousands." $5,375, to be exact, I said, sliding the receipt across the coffee table. Plus $200 for gas and inconvenience. He snatched up the receipt, his hands shaking. "You sold my collection? Are you insane? That was mine." "Funny," I said, standing up. "That's exactly how I felt about my bag." "That's different." "No, Kyle. It isn't." I walked to the bedroom and returned with my new Louis Vuitton bag. "Don't worry, I've already replaced what you gave away." The extra cash covered the wallet I'd been wanting, too. His face contorted with rage. I'm calling the police. For what? I asked calmly. I have texts from you giving away my property. I have statements showing I paid for that bag. You've established a pattern of giving my things to your sister. I simply did the same with yours. Kyle's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Your sister told me how you've always done this, I continued. Taking things that don't belong to you. Deciding what others should value. I'm not playing that game anymore. I picked up my pre-packed overnight bag from beside the couch. I'm staying at Megan's tonight. I'll be back for the rest of my things this weekend. You can't just leave, he said, his voice suddenly small. It was just a bag. I smiled, a real smile, the first one in days. And it was just a game collection. Funny how that works. I walked to the door, my new Louis Vuitton securely on my shoulder, matching wallet tucked inside. One more thing, I said, turning back. I've transferred all the utilities into your name. I figured since you're so concerned about what has value and what doesn't, you can decide if electricity and water are worth paying for. Outside, the San Diego evening was warm and golden. I felt lighter with each step toward my car. My phone buzzed with texts from Kyle, alternating between fury and pleading, but I didn't look down. Some lessons are expensive. Kyle's cost exactly $5,575. Mine had cost 3 years, but I was finally free. As I drove toward Megan's apartment, I wondered briefly if I should feel bad about what I'd done. But each time the thought surfaced, I remembered Kyle's dismissive voice, it's just a bag. Just a bag that represented my hard work. Just a bag that I'd saved for. Just a bag that was mine to give or keep. Maybe tomorrow I'd feel differently. Maybe in a week, I'd regret the nuclear option. But tonight, with the sunset reflecting off downtown buildings and my new bag sitting beside me, I felt nothing but satisfaction. Kyle would never understand the real lesson here. It was never about the bag or the games. It was about respect. About recognizing that what matters to someone else should matter to you, even if you don't understand it. I stopped at a traffic light and checked my phone. 15 missed calls. 27 text messages. The light turned green, and I pulled away, leaving Kyle's digital panic behind me. Sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's just about getting out. 3 weeks later, I was settled into a small studio apartment near the beach. It cost more than my share of the place with Kyle, but the freedom was worth every penny. Megan had helped me move the last of my things while Kyle was at work, a deliberate choice to avoid another confrontation. Amanda had called me twice since that night. The first time to apologize again about the bag. The second time to tell me Kyle was a complete wreck. He's been calling everyone we know, trying to track down that collector, she said. He even drove to Oceanside and went door to door in some neighborhoods. It's getting scary, Val. I wasn't surprised. Kyle's collection wasn't just games and consoles, it was his identity. The rare Japanese imports, the limited North American releases, the controllers signed by famous developers at E3 conventions. Each piece had a story he'd tell anyone who would listen. He's talking about hiring a private investigator, Amanda continued. I told him that's insane. It is, I agreed. And it won't change anything. The collector told me he was breaking up the collection to sell to other collectors. Most of it's probably already gone. That was a lie. The collector had mentioned keeping everything together, said it was more valuable that way. But Kyle didn't need to know that. I've never seen him like this, Amanda said softly. It's like, he finally understands what it feels like. After we hung up, I sat on my new IKEA couch, sipping wine and watching the sunset through my tiny balcony door. My phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. I know what you did was wrong, but I'm willing to forgive you. Let's talk. Kay. I nearly laughed out loud. His collection was wrong, but my bag was just a bag. Even now, he couldn't see the parallel. I blocked the number and poured another glass of wine. The following Monday, I ran into Kyle's best friend Derek at the coffee shop near my office. I tried to slip out unnoticed, but he caught my eye and walked over. "Val, hey." His expression was uncomfortable. "How are you holding up?" "I'm good, actually. Really good." He nodded, looking down at his coffee. "Kyle's pretty devastated, you know." "About the breakup or the PlayStation collection?" I asked, my voice sharper than intended. Derek winced. "Both, I guess. Mostly the collection. But listen." He lowered his voice. "What you did, it was kind of genius. Brutal, but genius." I raised an eyebrow, surprised. "Kyle's always been like that," Derek continued. "In college, he borrowed my signed baseball and gave it to a girl he was trying to impress. Said I'd never miss it. I never got it back." A small, vindicating thrill ran through me. "And you stayed friends with him?" Derek shrugged. "He's got good qualities too. But boundaries were never one of them." He checked his watch. "I should get going. For what it's worth, I think you taught him something no one else could." As summer turned to fall, I threw myself into work and rebuilding my life. My new place slowly became home. I splurged on plants, artwork, and yes, another designer bag, a birthday present to myself. This time, there was no one to roll their eyes or question my choices. 6 months after moving out, I was having dinner with friends at a new restaurant downtown when I spotted Kyle at the bar. He was alone, nursing what looked like whiskey, staring at his phone. He looked thinner, his usually styled hair a bit unkempt. Our eyes met briefly across the room. He gave a small, awkward wave. I nodded once in acknowledgement, then turned back to my friends. Later, as I waited for the valet to bring my car, Kyle approached cautiously. "Val. You look good." "Thanks." Silence stretched between us, filled with the ambient noise of downtown traffic. "I found him, you know," Kyle finally said. "The collector." My heart skipped. "Oh. Yeah. Took me 3 months, but I tracked him down." Kyle stared at the pavement. "He still had everything. Offered to sell it back to me for twice what he paid you. Did you buy it?" Kyle shook his head. "Couldn't afford it. Not all at once." He looked up, meeting my eyes. "I'm paying in installments. Getting a few pieces back each month." I wasn't sure what to say. "That's good, I guess." "I get it now," he said quietly. "What I did with your bag. How it felt." The valet pulled up with my car, saving me from having to respond. "Take care of yourself, Kyle," I said, opening the driver's door. "Val?" His voice stopped me. "The bag. The one you wanted for so long. Was it really worth all that money? All that work?" I smiled, not unkindly. "To me, it was. That's all that matters." As I drove away, watching his figure grow smaller in my rearview mirror, I felt an unexpected lightness. Not triumph or satisfaction, those feelings had faded months ago, but closure. My Louis Vuitton bag sat on the passenger seat beside me, still beautiful, still mine. But now it represented something more than a luxury purchase. It symbolized a boundary drawn and defended. A lesson learned, by both of us. I don't know if Kyle will ever truly change. People rarely do, completely. But for one moment in that upscale restaurant parking lot, I saw recognition in his eyes. Understanding. Sometimes that's all the revenge you need.